Okay, boys, we got a 2006 GMC Sierra 1500, and we got a no crank, no start. So key off, security light will go off. Try to crank it, and you get nothing, absolutely nothing, which is rare, right? When people say you get nothing. Check engine light is there, security light is off. There are no codes. Came under the fuse box. Here is the fuse layout, and I pulled the starter fuse. I went ahead and tested. I got my test light to ground, connected to ground of the battery right there. And now if I touch that, that is 30. As you can see here on the diagram, that's 30. So that would bridge to there to turn the starter. This is actually a mechanic working on this car, so he's hooked up directly to the starter here. So we've got access, and the starter does work, but we're missing power to the starter to actually activate the relay, right? We have nothing, no power coming to activate the coil on the relay, as you can see. So that is our problem right now. That power comes from one fuse. Well, it doesn't come from one fuse, but passes through a fuse. This 10-amp fuse right here, IGNE, right? And as you can see, that fuse is good. So then that would most likely leave a problem with our neutral safety switch, because it passes through there to give current to energize this relay. So we're gonna try to bypass that and see if it'll start. Okay, just did another test off screen because I needed help. This is the ground coming from the PCM, and it is working. So when the starter is engaged, we do get a ground here, and still no power here to energize the coil. I ran it directly like that, energizing the starter, and it still didn't start. So the mechanic says there's no spark. So we got to find out why there's no spark. Most likely the reason we're not getting power here is going to be a bad neutral safety switch that is not passing the current to this relay. So we're going to check on the no spark issue. Okay guys, here's the wiring diagram. On the top right is the crank sensor. So we're going to focus on the actual wire, the green wire, which is would be to your left there of the screen. And that is the 12 volts green wire that goes to that gets fed from the PCM. So we're going to see, the key is on, we're going to see if we got battery voltage, and we've got 0.68 volts, guys. So there's a problem right there. Okay, we got connector C1 out, just there on the computer. Gonna find pins 2 and 21. It's labeled back here. You can see that in there. I believe it's going to be this light green right here. That should be our power, 12 volts coming out to the crank. So I'm going to tap into this connected, and let's see if we got 12 volts here. Abre. Okay boys, no power coming from the computer. Sierra. Okay guys, I came back and checked all of these fuses here on the map, and they're all good. I've got all full battery voltage on them. This is the ignition relay. I even swapped that out just in case for S&Gs, but still I'm not having any very low power, pretty much half a volt output on the line going out to the crank sensor. So the last thing to really do is to check all the powers and grounds at the actual computer, but I'm already doubtful. I believe the computer actually is going to be where the issue is. It's probably going to need another computer, but that's the next step here. Because if it's getting all its powers and grounds, it should be putting out 12 volts to that line, and it's not. So that could mean that either something is pulling it down, or the computer itself is bad. Okay guys, decided to come under here and check the switch. You can see that has power, and I believe the dark green is the output to the fuse box. So I should have power here. I'm going to test that. Ahí está. All right, guys. Looks like I definitely confirmed the problem. I went under there and tested the neutral safety switch, and we did have power on the pink wire, and on the green wire, dark green wire coming out. I plugged in the relay at the fuse box, I was getting the ground signal from there, so that is working. The signal, the wire was good and everything. I even gave it current, and I activated the relay and the starter, so that worked. So then what I went ahead and did, which was, I actually recorded it on an accident because my phone was in the pocket, so I just edited it so you could actually hear what happened. I actually started the truck. What I did was I ran 12 volts current to the from the PCM to the crank sensor, and the truck started right up. So that confirmed it, that the problem is the PCM. It's just not outputting the 12 volts signal out to the crank sensor. So that was two issues, which is very strange. I had doubts because the customer said that they were driving the truck, it just shut off on them, then it became a crank no start, up to a no crank eventually. So I just thought it was very strange that the crank sensor and the PCM went out like around the same time. But so I went to double check, and sure enough, they both were out. The crank sensor was out, and not the crank sensor rather, but the neutral safety switch was out, and the computer was not putting out 12 volts to the crank sensor. So I'm gonna go ahead and have the customer pull the computer and replace that neutral safety switch, and we'll go from there. So I'll make a part 2 if there's anything else that comes up on this one, but at this point, that's what it looks like it was, my friends. The computer and the neutral safety switch. Hit the thumbs up buttons, guys. See you on the next one.